What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight, Tuesday evening, we're going to be going over the Week 14 waiver wire. It should be the final week of your regular season. If not, maybe your playoffs are starting this weekend, but we do have a lot of teams on bye. So hopefully, final week of your regular season. We have Baltimore, Denver, Houston, Indianapolis, New England, and the Commanders on bye. So a huge 6-team bye week. What we're going to do here is I'm going to cover the injuries to monitor. I'll share some of my favorite waiver wire ads for this week, and then we can get into individual questions. Looking at the quarterbacks first, of course, we have Trevor Lawrence, concussion. He had that late hit that was, it got suspension and I think some fines for Al-Shire. But Lawrence, I don't know if he's going to play this weekend. I would lean towards him being doubtful. Maybe we don't see Lawrence play anymore at this point in this season. Tommy DeVito, the forearm, he almost was ready to play on Thanksgiving here. We'll have to watch his reports here. I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to DeVito. Otherwise, the quarterbacks all looked relatively in good health here. So nothing too crazy, just Trevor Lawrence, a few guys with, a few nicks and bruises and things like that. Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford, will watch their health. But overall, the QBs look pretty good. Running backs, and this is the big one. Christian McCaffrey on IR, season pretty much over. And then they go ahead and put Jordan Mason on IR with the ankle injury. So the number one priority in waiver wires this week would be the rookie running back, Isaac Guerendo. He is the clear-cut player that you need to target, and he's probably a startable running back, too, for the foreseeable future here. So no Christian McCaffrey, no Jordan Mason for the next maybe for the rest of the year. We don't really know. The 49ers might shut Jordan Mason down. Who knows? But for at least for the next month, it's the Isaac Guerendo show. The Chargers have put J.K. Dobbins on IR as well. His potential return is week 17, which would be your fantasy championship. I don't know if we're going to throw him out there that first week back, even if he does play. The Chargers are a playoff team. They're probably going to take it cautious with him, and maybe we see him play week 17, 18. In the interim, though, Kamani Vidal, Gus Edwards, those are the two Chargers backs we're looking at. Austin Eckler for the Commanders, he went on IR, potential return week 18. For fantasy football, you could probably let him go unless you do play in week 18. But even then, I don't know if I'm going to play him in week 18. We'll talk about, whether it's Chris Rodriguez Jr. or Jeremy McNichols. There's some guys there for you. Raiders, Alexander Madison and Zamir White, both questionable. They both missed this last game here on Black Friday. We'll watch their reports here. I do feel more probable for Madison than I do about Zamir White. And then Roshan Johnson left with a concussion on Thanksgiving. We'll watch his availability. So a lot of running back stuff happened in the last couple days. And Guerendo, the Commanders backfield, the Chargers backfield, and the Raiders backfield, we're watching those ones pretty closely. Wide receivers, we'll see about CeeDee Lamb. He had the shoulder injury. He should be fine for week number 14. But we'll watch his practice reports. Maybe he misses tomorrow, and it's kind of, a light week of practice for him. Devonta Smith with that hamstring, he almost played in this game against the Ravens. I would expect him to be back this week. Hopefully he can get some more practices in, and he should be on track to return week 14. Ladd McConkey, he's been dealing with a bunch of injuries all year, but now he picked up another knee injury, and his status is in doubt for week 14. We might see more Quentin Johnston, more Josh Palmer, more Will Dissly. So we'll watch for Ladd McConkey. He's questionable to doubtful. Josh Downs, not sure where he's going to be with his shoulder injury. He's questionable to doubtful. I do see Chris Olave, potential return for next week. So if you're holding on to Olave, maybe we get some reports about him maybe coming back next week. Keon Coleman with the wrist injury. Not sure we're super excited about him when he does return, just because they added Amari Cooper. They use a heavy rotation at receiver, but Keon Coleman has a chance to play this weekend. I do expect Browns receiver Cedric Tillman to play in week 14 and maybe take a little bit away from Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore. Romeo Doubs, the Packers play Thursday night. He's on track to play. He got some limited practices in today, so I think Doubs has a chance to play this Thursday night. If no Doubs, we're looking at Watson. We're looking at Wicks as deep flexes. We'll see about Rashad Bateman and that knee injury. We have positive reports on Marquise Brown, potential return week 16, 17. You can stash him if you want. He might not be a great play. And, we're playing roulette there because it's, Final Four championship weekends where Brown's returning. Not sure what his workload's going to be. Demarcus Robinson has a hand injury. Noah Brown has a rib injury. And Calvin Austin dealing with a concussion. Overall, though, those are your receivers. And then tight ends. We did lose Taysom Hill with a knee injury for the season. We also have knee injuries for Dallas Goedert and Dalton Kincaid. I think Kincaid's going to be on track to play this week, but Goddard probably not going to play this week. Jake Ferguson, I'm expecting him back from his concussion. He's missed the last two games. Another season-ending injury here for a tight end, Theo Johnson, the rookie for the Giants with a foot injury. I do think if you guys play in Dynasty, he should be stashed over the offseason, so make sure he's not hanging around. And then same thing with Jatavian Sanders, who had been looking good too. I think Sanders and Johnson should be owned in Dynasty leagues. And then let me just read off my favorite ads, and then I'll get into some of your questions. If you need a quarterback this week, again, 6 teams on bye. You have Russell Wilson versus Cleveland. You have Tua versus the Jets. You have Geno Smith at Arizona. You have Caleb Williams at San Francisco and Will Levis against Jacksonville. Running backs are pretty simple. I think it's Isaac Guerrero. You guys can add handcuffs, whether it's Bigsby, Braylon Allen, Jonathan Brooks, Blake Corum, Trey Benson. I do like Jeremy McNichols there as well. And then if Gus Edwards is out there, pick up Gus Edwards. I like Kamani Vidal as well. For receivers, you can go with the Panthers guys. If Leggett or Thielen are out there, I'm fine with Nick Westbrook-Akina, but we're playing with fire there. Cedric Tillman, Romeo Dobbs, MVS, those guys are kind of fun flex plays. And then deeper formats, Devon Vele, Parker Washington, Elijah Moore, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Demario Douglas. If you need a tight end this week, Tucker Kraft's been dropped a lot in the last few days, the last couple of weeks. You can pick up Kraft. You can pick up Dalton Schultz. I think Will Dissly with Ladd McConkey ailing is interesting. Pat Fryermuth, Juwan Johnson with the Taysom Hill news. Juwan Johnson's probably going to pick up and finish strong here down the stretch. And then Grant Calcaterra with the injury to Dallas Goedert. And then if you need a defense this week, I like the Eagles versus Carolina. I like Tampa Bay versus the Raiders. I like the Dolphins against the Jets, the Saints at the Giants, and the Bears against the 49ers. And good evening to Harris. He's asking Eagles, Saints, or Titans. I think that's a pretty easy one for me. I'm going with the Eagles here. This one's in Philadelphia. I know Carolina's looked a lot better the last couple games, but I'm still going Eagles. I think the Saints are close, but they're still the tier below the Eagles. I'm going to go Eagles first, Saints, and then the Titans. I'm not in love with Tank Bigsby this week. I think, it really depends on who's quarterback. I'm expecting Mac Jones to be the quarterback, but you also have to deal with, a healthy ETN, potential for them to be trailing in this game. It's not going to be a super fun game, but I could see a game where Tank Bigsby, he gets his touches and he looks fine doing so. So I'm fine with Tank Bigsby. He's still not like a top 30 running back for me. The Titans are still pretty good against the opponent running backs. Bigsby did get 7 carries and a catch last week. So, you're banking on a touchdown with Bigsby. Not my favorite scenario. Shepard, Cooks, Ferguson for this week in flex off waivers. If I have to do one, I'm going to do Ferguson. Sterling Shepard has looked good. What did he do last week? He did go 4 for 42. He had 7 targets, back-to-back 7-target games. Like, he's kind of a nice low floor guy. I'm not super excited about it. And then same thing with Cooks. Like, Cooks is going to be rotating in there with Jalen Tolbert, CeeDee Lamb, and Cooks should be the number 3 receiver. But if Ferguson plays, I'm going to go with Ferguson. So Greg Roman is an old school offensive coordinator. He's coached the Ravens for a long time. He knows Gus Edwards. There's something about a veteran presence here. And especially, the Chargers are 8-4. They're in playoff contention. They're going to continue to use Gus Edwards in situations where they trust him. I am open, though, to Kamani Vidal earning more work. The weird thing that happened in the other game against the Falcons, though, is I think they only ran like 46 plays. So they didn't get a ton of carries. They didn't get a ton of passing attempts. Gus Edwards still led the team with 6 carries, but Kamani Vidal has a chance to continue to earn early down work. They kind of mixed up all the third down work. It actually looks like Hassan Haskins might be third down and goal line. So I think they're going to continue to use Gus Edwards as the main ball carrier. It's going to be a 3-way committee. It doesn't feel great, but if you have to start one Charger, it should be Gus. I'm going to go Braylon Allen here just because I do worry about the Jets maybe shutting it down. Breece Hall's already dinged up. He was missing practices and things like that after the bye. I like Tyler Algier, but Bijan's playing great. They're still 6-6 in lead of the NFC South. I'm going to go Braylon Allen here. How big of a bid for Isaac? Depends on what you need. If you need him to be your RB2, then yeah, you probably got to blow 30-40% of your waiver wire money on him. If you just need him for depth, if he's like your third or fourth guy, if he's on your bench, I'd probably lower that down to like 20-25%. But if you want to make sure you grab a guy that has the opportunity for the next month, I'm fine with that 30-40% of your bidding. So if you have $100 left to spend, I think you're spending $30, $40. If you have $50 left, I think you're spending maybe $15 to $20. New Orleans, Miami, or Bengals. We are not doing the Bengals. The Bengals defense is among one of the worst defenses that I've seen of late here. So not the Bengals. I'm going to lean. I kind of like Miami, but I'm going to go Saints at the Giants. And I just don't have a lot of confidence in DeVito or Drew Lock here. So Saints, Miami, Bengals, clear third. DeVito or Mac Jones this week. If it's Mac Jones, I'm going to lean Mac Jones. And I don't have a lot of confidence in this. Mac Jones did look really nice, though, in the second half of that game last weekend when he came in for Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to lean Mac Jones here. I just don't really have a lot of faith in DeVito and the Giants offense. And I think Mac Jones can, he's got experience. He can throw the ball. He's going to have a turnover or two, but I'm going to lean Mac Jones here. Michael Wilson, Abdullah Madison, rest of season. That one's really tough because I don't know what the Raiders are going to do with their running backs, man. We're looking at potentially Madison returning this weekend. Maybe Zamir comes back. They have 4 guys that they like to use. I think the rotation is going to be hard to predict every week. And Abdullah is going to be their pass catcher. I think they want to run the ball with Madison, but they like Sincere McCormick now. I don't really have a lot of trust in the Raiders. I think it's going to be kind of a hot hand thing, and they do like this Sincere McCormick coming along here. So I don't have a good read on how the Raiders are going to operate their backfield. So I guess, if you're starting one of these guys every week, it's probably Michael Wilson. I don't know. It's tough because the Raiders have shown us nothing that, hey, this is going to be their starter when he's healthy. They kind of use 2-3 running backs every week here. So I don't have a lot of faith in the Raiders running backs. Drop Madison or Charbonnet for Isaac. I'm dropping Madison. Hold on to Charbonnet. We know that Charbonnet is very good when he gets the opportunity. Kenneth Walker, I think, was dinged up at the end of that game last week too. So we'll watch for his practice reports tomorrow. But if Walker goes down, we know Charbonnet is a must start. Madison, there's a lot of moving pieces in that Raiders backfield. So I'm dropping Madison to get Garendo. Hold on to Charbonnet. Yeah, man, I've been ignoring him. I picked him up actually in a league and left him on my bench last week, which was fine. But it's just I don't like banking on touchdowns. But when you scored a touchdown in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of his last 8 games, at this point we probably just got to ride with the highs and lows. And his lows are 6 points, 9 points, 8 points, which is fine. His targets are starting to trickle back up to the 5 and 6 range. He did have 8 targets on Sunday here. His remaining schedule is super nice, though. Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and Jacksonville. So that's like a dream spot here. So I do like Will Levis rest of season for a QB2 in Superflex League. So, I mean, I guess at this point, Nick Westbrook-Akine, we're probably going to rank him as like a top 36 receiver. And it just kind of is what it is. The volume's not fun, but he makes big plays. Will Levis, Winston, or Florence? Lawrence. Okay. I would be shocked if we see Trevor Lawrence this weekend. They are projecting him right now, but they're talking about, they're already talking about if they're going to see him anymore the rest of the season. So the Jags season is officially lost. I think it makes sense to scrap him. I'm going with Will Levis this weekend. I do like Jameis Winston. It's at Pittsburgh. They just got done playing the Pittsburgh Steelers a couple of weeks back. He threw an interception. He did run for a touchdown, only 219 passing yards. It was not his best fantasy game. So I'm going to go Will Levis here. Levis against Jacksonville. Levis has been playing well, consistent the last month or so. His fantasy outputs in the last 4 games, he's had 2 passing touchdowns in 3 games. He's throwing the ball pretty well. 19 points, 15, 16, 16 points. I'm going to go Will Levis, Winston, and then I don't think Lawrence is going to play. Kicker pickup of the week. Oh, goodness. I have to go. Where do I have kickers? Kicker pickup of the week. Well, we do have a lot of teams on bye, and the one league where I do have a kicker, I do have Kaimi Fairbairn, so I will need a kicker. I would maybe look at maybe Tyler Bass. He's only 43% owned. The Buffalo Bills are going to SoFi Stadium to play the Rams. I think that's a good spot. I think maybe Younghoe Koo at Minnesota. That's in a dome. I want to look at dome games. Again, the weather is starting to become a factor in a lot of these games. Evan McPherson at Dallas is a good one. He's only 42% owned. I think maybe Jake Moody against Chicago is interesting. Cairo Santos at San Francisco is interesting. Let me see if I can find any other ones for you guys. Maybe the Minnesota kicker, John Parker Romo, at home against Atlanta. He's been pretty decent. His last 4 games, he's had 12 points, 5 points, 12 points, 11 points based on your scoring format. So that's a few of them that I like here. If I have to pick up one guy, I think I'll pick up Tyler Bass if I can. Otherwise, McPherson, Romo, Jason Myers, Brandon McManus is probably where I'd go. Man, I think it's Saquon Barkley right now. Just because as good as Josh Allen's been playing, he's still QB5 in most scoring formats. Whereas Saquon Barkley is like he's the clear running back one. And based on your scoring format, I'm just going to one of my PPR leagues here. I believe Saquon Barkley is the highest scoring player. Let me just double check that. Lamar Jackson's still the highest scoring player, but Saquon Barkley is number 2 in PPR. Jamar Chase, number 3. Josh Allen, he's the number 8 scorer, I think, in all across the leagues right now. So I think Saquon Barkley, bigger flex. Madison or Algier rest of season. I think I answered that earlier. Again, I don't have a lot of confidence in this Raiders backfield. I think they're going to continue to play, the hot hand. I think Madison had been the hot hand for most of the year. They're going to get Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Jacksonville, New Orleans. I don't mind that schedule, but I do think they might, take a look here at Sincere McCormick, Zamir White more down the line. If you are just putting one of these guys on your bench, I want Algier. If you're holding on to one of these guys to maybe start, it's going to be Madison. So it's totally what kind of preference you have there. I think handcuff wise, I'd rather have Algier because if Bijan goes down, we got something there. Madison just doesn't quite have that that next year. Like they're using 4 dudes right now. He doesn't have the quite ceiling that Algier would have if Bijan went out. So I think Algier is more important. Highest scoring, most fantasy friendly game this week. Let's take a look at that. I did load up the DraftKings game lines. And I believe it was the Packer game. Packers Lions has 51.5 total points implied. The Lions are projected 27.5 points. The Packers 24. So that's the game of the week so far. And then the next game with the most points is Dallas, Cincinnati. There's 49.5 points implied in that one. The Bengals are projected to win by 6. So I really like the Bengals offense at Dallas. I also like Buffalo, LA Rams to be kind of a shootout over in SoFi Stadium. So those are the top 3 games. And I think the most fantasy friendly game this week will be the Packers Lions. That's a huge game, man. In the scope of the NFC, we're looking at what are they? 10-1, 11-1 Detroit Lions, 9-3 Packers. If the Lions win this game, they can pretty much continue to play good football, and they should be in the driver's seat for the NFC North. If they lose this game, that opens up the Vikings, opens it up for the Packers, and it opens up the number 1 seed here for the Philadelphia Eagles. So there's a lot on the line this Thursday night. I think Packers Lions is going to be the most fantasy friendly and one of the most interesting games of the week. But anyways, guys, I am a little under the weather this Tuesday. I will be doing my regular Wednesday live show. I think we'll be feeling better tomorrow. So we'll do the longer show format tomorrow. If you guys do have any more questions for your waivers, you guys can always hit me up on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, comment on this video. Burrow and Chase can't make up for everything else, I guess, still 4-8. I mean, their defense is just so bad, man. If you look at points allowed, the Bengals are allowing 340 points on the year, which only one other team has allowed more, and that's the Carolina Panthers. So when you're, letting team, and I don't know what the math on that is. They've played 12 games, 340 points divided by 12. I mean, they're allowing 28 points per game. That's hard to do because there's not a lot of offenses that are going to score 28 points per game. There's a few here, but it's very tough. Cincinnati looking like they might have to find a new identity going forward as they get into their Burrow contracts and their Chase contracts. They're going to have to figure some things out and find a way to play good defense and still maintain a good offense. So, but hey, guys, that's going to do it for me tonight. I want to thank you for hanging out with me. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night. Hopefully you guys get everything you need on waivers. And yeah, tomorrow night we'll go live 7 p.m. on Wednesday night. We'll see you there. Peace.
Got me feeling icy.